the Vanguard Programme. What inspired you to join a Vanguard Programme?
Well, I enjoyed doing the sport, and I really enjoyed helping the kids at camp and seeing how I could improve being with them.
So I should explain to people who are watching this video what our Vanguard Programme is. It's basically a young leaders programme that allows young leaders like Sophie to have the opportunity to have a voice, both in sport karates, but also to give them experiences of business practice and how to communicate to a broader group than just their peers. So that's the kind of background. So being part of the Vanguard, how's it influenced you in helping you grow as a person? And what do you think your key leadership skills are now?
I think I'm more confident in speaking to people that I don't know and being able to help people. And it's also taught me about finance as well and how to set up a business.
Excellent, excellent. So you obviously transitioned as a Vanguard into being a coaching leader in our targeted flexibility program, yeah? So how did that feel transitioning from initially working with young people to now having the opportunity to coach a range of people all the way up to adults?
It's been a really good transition because it's let me speak to other people and see what other people are like and help them.
Cool, cool. You also had to do quite an intensive training course to become qualified as a flexibility coach, yes?
Yeah.
You want to talk about what you had to do a little bit round about that?
I was on a course for quite a while and I had to do 2 videos a day, and then at the very end of it I got to do a test on it, and if I got over 80% then I was able to take the class.
So congratulations on that. You know, what do you enjoy most about coaching or mentoring other students?
Seeing other people happy at doing stuff like I've been able to help them if they're finding something hard.
Yeah, because great empathy there, because we've all been there when, you know, it's not been easy for us to do something. So, you know, you definitely show great empathy for others. So the impact in terms of karate for yourself, how has karate impacted your life outside of the dojo and school and friends and with family?
Well, it's made me more confident in speaking with people in school, and it's gave me more friends outside of school as well.
Cool. What advice would you give to someone who's just starting off in the karate journey?
Just to keep going at it, because it gets a lot better and you find it a lot more, you get happier when you're going through it.
Great. So I'm going to transfer the question over to your dad now, if that's okay, Sophie. So these are really poised at you. Yeah. So basically, initial impressions, initial thoughts and experience when your daughter first joined us here at Sport Karate East, if you can remember that far back.
Yeah, well, when we were talking about Sophie getting her white belt, it was almost that far, that long ago. It's always difficult to remember. Initial thoughts, we were certainly pleased. She tried various other sports and cheerleading and all these sorts of things, and we didn't quite find something where she'd settle. So when she came home and said, I've been doing karate at school and I want to stick with that, can you sign me up? We felt great. It's another thing to sign up for, and it might last a month or two. So I must admit, our expectations were limited at the outset when Sophie first said she was joining karate.
Fair enough. So Sophie, how did you convince your dad that it wasn't just wasn't a passing fad?
Because I saw the older people with their belts and I wanted to be the same level as them.
Yeah. So when we first started bringing Sophie along out with the school when she was training at the dojo, I think within maybe two, we would stay, you know, when she was younger, as you know, we would stay and watch the whole training session. And I think within 2 or 3 training sessions of seeing what actually happens in the dojo, seeing the level of discipline that's instilled within the kids, but also how much fun they can have whilst being disciplined. It didn't take us long, you know, to realise that we really wanted Sophie to stick at this, because we could see that if she did stick at this, there would be huge benefits in the long term.
So what would you say that the changes that you noticed in Sophie as she progressed?
I think the main thing I would say is confidence. I know Sophie's used that word a few times. When Sophie started doing karate, she maybe lacked a little bit of confidence, and you know, she's going through various stages in life where maybe lack a little bit of confidence. But we've always found, you know, with the karate, you're always challenged. And it feels more like another family. You know, we sometimes refer to Sophie as having a separate friends group to the dojo, but it's almost like a separate family. Everyone is so close there, out with the existing friend group and family.
Great. So what was your reaction when Sophie basically joined a Vanguard program? Yeah.
Yeah, well, when you first spoke to us, Richard, and explained what the Vanguard programme was, we were very excited about that. We were pleased that Sophie had been recognised as potentially having the ability and leadership skills to do something like this. But when you actually spoke through what was involved in the Vanguard programme and the aims and the objectives, it was just something kind of probably over and above anything we ever expected to be offered as part of the karate. It's, as Sophie touched on, you know, the business skills, for example. One of the things that the Vanguard programme has done is inspired Sophie to pick business studies as one of her subjects at school. And it's probably one of her strongest and one of the subjects she enjoys the most. She only gained an interest in that subject through the Vanguard programme. So when you told us what was involved in it, we were really quite excited by it.
Well, the proof is in the pudding, Sophie, that, you know, you are still a Vanguard, but you're also a coach in terms of a flexibility program, and hopefully, you know, you aspire to become, you know, go from a Vanguard to a coach in the karate environment as well. You know, so we definitely identified that Sophie had the potential, and Sophie did all the heavy lifting, you know, both in terms of our ongoing karate, but also in terms of, you know, doing all the work round about the business acumen and in relation to the targeted flexibility program, because that wasn't a low level qualification that she underwent, and she just embraced that, and with her bubbly personality, just seemed to breeze through it. But it wasn't a breeze, you know, the hard work came out at the end of the day, you know. So yeah, we're really pleased with that. So I guess the question is in relation to the overall experience. You know, what's been the most rewarding part of Sophie's karate journey for you as a parent?
I think the most rewarding part has been seeing that discipline that she's gained whilst also being so many friends. And again, as I say, it's almost like that second family she's got. They travel to competitions together. And what I really like, you know, sometimes when kids are at school and they're in different age groups, they maybe don't necessarily talk to each other. Maybe that's cool to talk to the younger ones. That doesn't apply in the dojo. You know, irrespective of age, everyone gets on really well. So I think seeing her gain that additional friendship group almost, while she's being disciplined, and probably the most rewarding thing is just seeing the consistent changes. I don't just mean going from white belt, yellow belt, you know, all the way up to black belt and the changes that come with that, but the changes in personality, the changes in confidence. And Sophie's touched on it a few times herself. She's like coaching adults, just as an example. That's quite a big jump for someone at that age in terms of the communication skills. You know, Sophie really likes coaching the younger ones. I think that's probably her favourite part of karate just now, is helping the younger kids develop and seeing them come in with a smile on their face, and you know, that's clearly rewarding. But at the other end of the scale, being able to coach adults as a young teenage girl, you know, what that does for your confidence to be able to sit in front of a room of adults and talk them through a training program because you've been supported to go through the qualification, as you say, it wasn't an easy qualification. It was time consuming. There was a lot of work went in. There was a lot of support there. So to actually go through that process and be able to sit in front of a room of adults and confidently talk through, that program, it's just made a huge difference to Sophie's personality, confidence. So I'd say that's been the most rewarding part of it, just seeing the continuous growth that's happened from the day she walked in the dojo until now.
Well, I think Dad summed that up pretty well. We've definitely seen you, grow, and we have no qualms in terms of, your ability to communicate for young people and, throughout the spectrum. So that can only set you in good stead for the future for yourself. So what are your future goals in karate, both as a student and as a coach, Sophie?
I want to continue with the coaching and hopefully become a coach within Sport Karate East.
So we should, for people watching this, we should explain the difference. We have a governing body requirement, of mandatory things that all the coaches go through on a biannual basis. But in addition to that, on top of that, Sport Karate East has a year to 2 year long program that's degree level of coaching modules that will allow Sophie to have a real in-depth knowledge above and beyond the requirements set out by a sport and governing body. So that's, real commitment for you again, Sophie, to take it to the next level. So, so go ahead, sorry.
I think one of the ways we maybe skip there, Richard, was just in terms of whether, how we would recommend it as parents. So I think something that's probably worth saying from a parent perspective, for anyone who is considering as a parent joining Sport Karate East. As a parent, as a new parent, or as a new parent in terms of joining the dojo in Sport Karate East, you probably assume that your child will go there a couple of hours a week, they'll do some moves, some fighting, they'll get a bit of help from the coach for an hour, and then they'll leave. But there's so much more happens behind the scenes that you would never imagine to happen behind the scenes unless you're part of the journey. One specific example I would say is Sophie was just doing her standard, or sorry, Nat 5s, showing the age that she was doing Nat 5s recently, and there was one or two subjects she was struggling with. But there was also other athletes in the dojo who were maybe struggling with one or two subjects. And what we then found was that a mixture of coaches and older athletes had come forward, and some had said, well, I've done maths at university, why don't I help these guys with maths? And one of the other athletes said, well, I've done biology, why don't I help them? It's something you would never imagine would happen at the dojo, but out with just the training, there was actually athletes turning up for, 4 months prior to exams, being given one-to-one tuition. And that's not part of the course. That's just part of the dojo family, I guess, isn't it? That's just the way that you all look out for each other and help each other. So over and above what you would expect, there's so many things over and above what you would expect as part of this journey.
Well, that as I said, I'll overlook talking about that because we just took that as a matter of course that, if we can help someone, they're part of the karate family. And I know on a lot of occasions people use that word flippantly, but we really put our arms round about each and every one of our students. We really are interested in their individual progression and what's important for Sophie, her goals and objectives. They may be totally different to the person standing next to her, but we want to make sure that the support and the guidance that we give out with the karate, we look at karate as being the vehicle to help with life. It helps you when you're happy, it helps you when you're sad, it helps you all the way through it, but you're not alone. The community here have your back, and I guess that's something that we don't articulate enough as an organisation, and it was very kind of you to say that, but again, because we take it for granted,
of course,
but a parent, you see it from a different perspective, which is exactly what we're trying to share here, that we're excited that Sophie has now just started her journey in karate. People may watch this and go, what does Richard mean by that? So we look at until you're a black belt, it's a bit like being at school. You have your standard grades, nat 5s or whatever it is. I don't know the right terms now. I'm definitely showing my age. Yeah. But when you become a black belt, that's you simply degree level. That's not you a master of your trade. That's you just your entry qualification for the rest of your life as a young adult. And, you know, we hope that karate is something that's part of your life until the day it's not part of your life. You know, I've been doing karate 50 years now, and every day I wake up with gratitude that I have so much fun doing it. And still after this time, I'm totally enthusiastic about it. So, you know, there's a lot more for you to learn, Sophie, but, you know, you're doing a great job if you were to talk to other people, they would think the journey you've taken is taking a long time. But in our perspective, that's just a blink. That's the first step of the journey, and you get so much more to share and give, and so many more experiences and trips to go on. So,
and one of the things that's really impressed me as well, Richard, in terms of the support you give out with the day-to-day and out with the standard kind of karate coaching, it's always impressed me that if someone walked in the dojo on day one and they've maybe got an issue, they get the same treatment, same support as someone who's been there for 7, 8 or more years. And also in some sports, you tend to find that the star athletes maybe get special treatment. Well, that doesn't really happen. I remember when Sophie was quite young, she'd only recently joined and she was having some confidence issues. And, you know, at the time, we didn't think she was going to go on and, you know, compete or anything like that. We thought it was probably more of a hobby. And we were looking at people there who were absolute stars. But from day one, if Sophie had a problem, yourself and all the coaches gave her just as much focus, time, attention. And it's that time and attention to the dojo as well. It's the time you spend talking to parents out with, and, you know, late night messages, late night phone calls, you're checking in on the kids. If you pick up on something, you pick up on a confidence issue or something's maybe not right, you're always checking in with the parents. But you and the coaches, you do that with every single child if you pick up on something. It's not just the ones that have been there long term. And again, that's probably a little bit unique. When I've been involved in other sports, it tends to be the star players or the ones who you think might go on and win medals and take you to competitions abroad might get that treatment. But everyone gets that level of treatment. It's really impressive.
Well, that's great that you know you've seen that, but we don't believe there should be any bench warmers in our organisation, and we see it as the whole. You know, it's. For someone to be successful at karate, we want them to be successful in everything in life. But we also know that that's a challenge, and that there are, you know, times that you need a wee hand. You know, in life, I've been helped umpteen times to be successful. So we just think about it as we're paying it forward. Other people have helped the other coaches be successful in their life. So we see that as a natural thing for all of us. And Sophie is a vanguard and as a young coach. Then we took that ethos into her, and she thinks nothing of helping the young ones. Yeah. So by having, if you like, that as a core value, we don't see it as special because it's just how the organisation is. But, you know, when you point it out, it perhaps is a little different in some other organisations.
Yeah. So
I want to thank both of you very much for jumping onto this call today. Hopefully, you know, what we're highlighting from Sophie, starting a white belt, progressing through her journey to a black belt, it gives you a flavour of both who Sophie is, and how she's, you know, turning into a rock star, throughout this process. And for anyone who's thinking about martial arts, there's a plethora of martial arts out there. If you think what we offer is something that is suitable for you, then, you know, please reach out to us, comment below. You know, we'd love to hear from you. So on behalf of everyone here, this is Richard Mallis at Sport Karate East signing off. Take care. Bye.